Yesterday we were solving one-step equations. Today we're going to solve two-step equations. Now, what we want to do when we're solving two-step equations is first figure out what is being done to the variable. So in this case, if I were to follow my order of operations, it would tell me to, when I have a value for x, divide by 2, and then add 5 to that result. So in order to get x by itself, in order to solve for x, what I'm going to do is the exact opposite steps and the exact opposite order. So what's the opposite of adding 5? Subtracting 5. And what's the opposite of dividing by 2? Multiplying by 2. So those are the steps and the order that I'm going to use to solve this equation. So I'm going to take the equation that I started with. First I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and then I'm going to multiply by 2. So let's take our equation, subtract 5 from both sides. Remember, if we do it to one side, we have to do it to the other in order to keep it balanced. So now I have x over 2 equals 6. And my second step is to multiply both sides by 2, which cancels out the 2's on the left, leaves me with x equals 12. And just like yesterday, I can do a little check up here in the corner to make sure that when I plug in 12 for x, that I get the right answer. And what's 12 divided by 2? 6. And is 6 plus 5, 11? Yes. So 12 is our answer. Let's take a look at the next example. Five x plus 9 equals 24. So let's think about it. What's being done first? The multiplication by 5. What's being done second? Addition by 9. So to get rid of those, I'm going to work them backwards. So how do I undo addition by 9? Subtract 9. Gives me 5x equals 15. And I know from what we learned yesterday that now I should divide both sides by 5. So I get x equals 3. And I can check by plugging it back in and making sure that I have a true statement that 5 times 3 plus 9 equals 24. And it does. Now sometimes your steps will actually just be a simplification. For instance, 7x minus 4x equals 21. Well, if I look at this, I see that on the left-hand side, I actually have two x's. I have like terms. So what I can do is combine those like terms. What do I get when I take 7x and remove 4x? 3x. And I know that I would solve this by dividing both sides by 3. And I can check, does 7 times 7 minus 4 times 7 equal 21? 7 times 7 is 49. 4 times 7 is 28. 49 minus 28 does equal 21, so x equals 7 is our answer. So we can use this to find the input of a function if we know the output. That's kind of what we've been doing back here. Okay, we've been doing on our problems already. Here we're looking to find a value of x that will give me an output of 21. So if we look at example 3 in the book on page 142, the output of a function is 3 less than 5 times the input. Find the input when the output is 17. So first we need to write our equation. The output of a function is. So we like to use y to symbolize output. And when we read the word is, we know that means equals. 3 less, that means we're taking 3 away from something, then 5 times the input. We normally use x as our input. So we got our output is 3 less than 5 times the input. There's our equation, and we want to find the input when the output is 17. So that means since y is our output variable, we're going to put 17 in for it and find a value of x that will give us that output. So what is being done to the x? First, it's multiplication by 5. That's our first step. And our second step is to subtract 3. So we're going to do the opposite steps in the opposite order. Add 3 to both sides. And what's the second step? Divide by 5. So we get x equals 4. And we can check. If we take and multiply 5 by 4 and subtract 3, we get 20 minus 3, which is 17, which is exactly what we wanted to get out. So x equals 4. Let's look at a word problem. As a scuba diver descends into deeper water, the pressure of the water on the diver's body steadily increases. The pressure at the surface of the water is 2,117 pounds per square foot. 2,117 pounds per square foot. The pressure increases at a rate of 64 pounds per square foot for each foot the diver descends. Find the depth at which a diver experiences a pressure of 8,517 pounds per square foot. So, our starting pressure is 2,117. And for each foot that we go down, we're adding 64. So we want to multiply 64 by our depth. And since we don't know the depth we're looking for, we'll use a variable d. And we want to know when that total pressure reaches 8,517. So here's our equation. All we need to do is solve it for d. So if we think about what's being done to the d, first it's being multiplied by 64. Then we're adding a 2,117. So we want to take those off in reverse. So if we've got a positive 2,117, we want to remove it by subtracting 2,117 from both sides. That leaves me with 64d on the left equals 6,400 on the right. And I remove that multiplication of 64 by dividing by 64. So I get d equals 100 feet. That's the depth at which the pressure is 8,517 pounds per square foot. Let's try solving a couple of these problems on our own. I'll give you 2 examples and I'll let you work through them. And then after you've got a chance to come up with an answer, we'll go over them together. So we'll give you this equation and this equation. So take a second, pause the video, and give those a try. Okay, so let's start with the one on the left. The first thing that's being done is division by 4. The second thing is subtracting 3. So we want to undo those in reverse. Add 3 to both sides to undo the subtraction of 3. That gives us x over 4 equals 5. How do we undo division by 4? Multiply by 4, both sides. So we get x equals 20. Now does 20 divided by 4 minus 3 equal 2? Well, 20 divided by 4 is 5, and 5 minus 3 does equal 2, so that's good. X equals 20 is our answer. Over on the right, we want to combine our like terms on this side first. What's 5b minus 7b? Well, since 5 is positive and 7 is negative, we know that we subtract and we take the sign of the bigger number. So 7 minus 5 is 2, and the bigger number is negative. So we got negative 2b equals 4. We divide by negative 2. Get b equals negative 2. And does 5 times negative 2 minus 7 times negative 2 equal 4? Well, 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Negative 7 times negative 2 is positive 14. And that does equal 4. So b equals negative 2 is the right answer. All right, well, if you would like, you can watch the video again. If not, you can start on your homework.